Hey guys, today's tech tip is something fast and easy, and it's how you can cosmetically improve a guitar. If you have a guitar like this and you have some zebra pickups or just black bobbin pickups and you wanted to put some chrome pickups in there, but maybe you like the way the pickups sound, you can add chrome covers. To do this modification, it's really easy. Basically, take off the strings on your guitar. For today's project, all we're gonna need is a couple things. We're gonna need a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, some solder, a soldering iron right here. Let's go ahead and move this into shot. Right here. And you might need a caliper depending on your situation. And you're going to need either some liquid silicone or some wax. I'm going to use paraffin wax and heat it up. I got the covers from Stu Mac, and they're a great source because I really trust the quality of these covers. You can get them from other sources, but like I said, I trust Stu Mac, and also I trust that their measurements are correct. In this particular issue, think about this. There's two kinds of covers you have to worry about. There's going to be what's called trim spaced, tremolo spaced, and regular spaced. The regular space is going to be for a PAF or a standard humbucker pickup, and the trim space is going to be for a trimbucker pickup. If you want to measure the pickups to make sure what the distance is, what I like to do is take a flathead screwdriver and set the screws on the two outside screws so that they're perfectly horizontal this way, so that we can take our caliper and run the knife edges on the cuts. Then what you'll do is just go ahead, set your caliper to millimeters, and like I said, put the knife edges right there on each one of those lines, and that'll give you, see, 49.25, which like I said is close enough. And that's how you do it. And you can measure all your pickups that way. In this case, I already know what I have. I have a Trimbucker JB in the bridge and a 59 in the neck. So this is going to be very easy. Let's go ahead and just take this apart. After you take off the pick guard, go ahead and just use a cloth to cover the guitar to protect it. That way you don't have to worry about scratching the body or dripping solder on the body, since we will be soldering. Something to note, if you have a trimbucker, a lot of times if it's by Seymour Duncan or Fender, you'll see 3 holes where you put the screw instead of just the standard one in the center. That's one way to tell. Seymour Duncan also makes it easier because they use a T. So in this case, they're calling this a TB4, which is a JB humbucker, but trim spaced. To ensure you bought the right covers, take the screws and line them up with the holes. You'll see in this case, these holes don't line up. They're too far apart. This is definitely the trim spaced cover. So if we put it on the trimbucker, yep, it lines up perfectly. Because keep in mind, those screws have to fit through those holes. Another thing to note is you'll see that the sides of the pickup cover are kind of bent outward. That's perfect for what we're doing, which is top loading it underneath the pick guard. However, if we were dropping into a carved out or recessed cavity, we may want to bend those in slightly. You can use your fingers. That's all I've ever used, and it's fine. Now, before we assemble it, what you want to do is take a piece of sandpaper, a flathead screwdriver, or a file, and just score the center of the pickup on both sides. Just remove the paraffin wax and make sure that there's something for the solder to bond to. We're trying to get a connection between the bottom plate and the cover. Now, before installing the cover, I'm going to use a tea candle, which is just paraffin wax, and pour a little bit on the top of the pickup. Now, I spread the wax all over the top of the pickup to make sure there's a barrier between the slugs and the casing. You can also use silicone, or for added protection, put a piece of masking tape. It's just important that there's a barrier between the pickup and the cover to prevent it from squealing, although I prefer wax. I'd love to say the covers just slide on perfectly every time, but that's not always the case. Sometimes I've found it's been really difficult, and sometimes it just went on with like a breeze. That's another reason why I like the wax. It gets everywhere, but I've had the same experience with the silicone, and it's really a mess. So the wax is easy to clean up. Now in this case, I kind of had to fight it to get it on there, and the wax got a little everywhere. That's okay. We're going to use a little guitar polish and clean it up. It'll look fantastic. All we do is just spray a little on, wipe it down, and it looks great. Now here comes the last step. It's important when you're soldering, you understand you have to use your iron at the maximum heat. I'm using a 50-watt iron. Don't try to use a cheap iron, it won't work. You'll just burn up the pickup. The other thing you want to make sure is that the pickup is seated in there 100% correctly, and it's got a lot of compression. If you have any gaps or air, you're going to make a bad seal. Now for the neck pickup, repeat the same process. Use wax or use masking tape to make sure that there's a barrier. Put the cover on and make sure you use enough pressure that there's no gaps or air trapped in between there, and then you're ready for solder. And just like before, just solder the base plate onto the cover. And reinstall the pickups and you're good to go. So there you have it. It took me about a total of 25 minutes from start to finish to install the covers, and I think it makes a massive difference in the way the guitar looks, and it saves a lot of money than having to add new pickups to a guitar if you already like the pickups but want to improve the way they look. You can add these covers to pretty much any kind of humbucker. These went on relatively easy, but I've had more difficulty with some than others, but with a little patience, I think you can overcome pretty much any kind of scenario. All right, guys, thank you, and as always, know your gear. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the rest in the series. Or you can go to www.knowyourgear.net to check out interesting articles and reviews, look at our extensive catalog of repair videos, or you can check out our weekly KYG podcast Fridays at 3 p.m. either on YouTube, iTunes, or SoundCloud.